Let's see. We can start doing some nonsense with all this smooth stone I've been getting. So, hey guys, welcome back to Q&A with the side of Minecraft. A series that this is my third episode, but it's all from the same beginning session at least. Wanderbot, get off my screen. That overlays over my Minecraft. That's awkward. Anyway, I'm a little worried because this is my third episode, but it's the same session, and I'm worried I'm going to look at my videos and realize that I've just been rambling about nonsense for all the videos so far, and that I'm a horrible waste of space and time with my conversation structure so far, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, this time I'm going to actually do the lightning round that I thought I was going to do last episode before I rambled on about one topic for like 20 minutes probably. I haven't looked at the video yet. I just broke my pickaxe on that guy. That was not the goal. But first episode is there's questions from Ivo Dominić and from adirtybirdy T. And in both of your cases, you're asking basically, what do I look forward to about Dark Souls 3? Or are you going to be playing Dark Souls 3? And various related questions like that. This guy's not dying. There we go. For the record, I'm not looking forward to anything about Dark Souls 3 besides playing it because I don't look up information about these games. I think that playing Dark Souls games blind is the ultimate experience. Now, to be fair, sooner or later, inevitably, these games are kind of games you beat collaboratively, is the way to put it, I think. So, yes, at some point I look up information about Dark Souls games, usually when I'm like 75% done, because at some point, if you're trying to do a playthrough where you kill all the bosses, you just can't know about where all the enemy locations are, or even what bosses you might be missing, unless you look things up. Like a good example is the fact that in Bloodborne, it is totally possible to not know about the fact that you can like sneak into that clinic from behind and gain access to certain things in there, and that you can here we go. It's easy to not know that you can sneak into the clinic, and it's easy to not get the Canehurst summons, and it's easy to not know that Canehurst is a place you can even visit, and so on and so forth. Like, that could totally happen. And so, as someone who does Let's Plays in particular, but also someone who just wants to play the entire game in general, I look up, sooner or later, what I've missed, because I don't want to miss anything, and I figure out how to get there. And I might, do a little bit of acting to pretend that I'm kind of stumbling into some of it a little bit when I'm, of course, looked it up already, but even then, like, the details I look up are usually pretty vague so that I can still be mostly blind when I go in. I'm going to start building something here over time, but I'm going to have to actually get more resources first, which I lost last episode if you were watching that. Dumb mistakes were made. But anyway, yeah, going into Dark Souls, I go into it blind. I only will look up the slightest information about how the game works, because Dark Souls games are really bad at explaining themselves. So if there's a new mechanic that they're adding, I will look up what the controls are for that mechanic and maybe a little bit about how it works. Some people get mad at me for that even, which is a surprise. Someone commented on, I think it was the first episode ever of Bloodborne, and they must have felt betrayed, I guess, because I inferred the idea that I was going in completely blind, but then a moment later revealed the fact that I looked up how the gun works. And it's like, yeah, like, the basic new thing in that game was that they added a gun, so I just wanted to confirm for people so that they don't think I'm going to completely be flailing in the wind that, yes, I understand that you use the gun to parry attacks, and it's not actually necessarily, in most of its incarnations, it's not really an offensive weapon so much as a defensive weapon, and so on. Like, I'll look up that basic stuff. So, like, I've gotten vague hints of Dark Souls 3 about weapon arts, where there's some kind of expanded moveset for your weapons, instead of just the usual, like, standing light attack, standing heavy attack, lunging light attack, lunging heavy attack, like jumping attacks, plunging attacks, backstabs, parry and riposte, those kinds of things. Like, the fact that they're expanding past the normal moveset is something that I'm a little aware of. So when I play Dark Souls 3, I will inevitably look up the tiniest details about how those controls work, so that I'm not just pissing in the wind the whole time I'm trying to figure out how to play the game at the beginning. But other than that, I don't want to know what any of the bosses are. I don't want to know how the game is structured. I don't want to know anything. Like, I am not watching... I won't even watch news videos about Dark Souls 3 right now, because people like VaatiVidya are really bad about uploading videos like that, and then just throwing in footage of a boss fight in the middle of that video, and I'm like, why is this... Why are you... Like, I just want to hear the news about what's going on with the game, like if it has like a release date, or like what features they're adding or something maybe like that, but you're like just straight up, you're gonna show me this boss fight. It's like, no, people don't want to know the boss fights early. I'm getting shot now. Yay. So as a result, I'm just boycotting all stuff about Dark Souls 3. In fact, to the point where if people mention Dark Souls 3, I usually don't even read the comments a lot of time. And I'll go in completely blind, and you'll get the proper reactions if you're watching the videos that you hopefully are expecting to see watching a blind video, because a lot of people watch these videos specifically to see me encounter these things for the first time. And if it all gets spoiled for me, it's a bummer. Much like how like someone was bummed out that like I knew about a certain mechanic in Dragon's Dogma before it happened, and that was a bummer to them. Buddy, you're just gonna be a dick, huh? Yep. I need to build a sword and armor, but I need to get more copper first because I lost all of it. But at least I'm nice and next to the spawn point, since I don't have enough to make a bed yet. This guy's gonna be a dick though. Die. Trying to pickaxe him so hard right now. It's a bummer that he has like basically perfect aim. Wow, he's durable. Alright. But yeah, that's the long and short of it, is just I'm avoiding Dark Souls 3 information, so I don't have information for you about what I like about it or what I'm looking forward to. I look forward to playing it, because I've liked every single game in the series so far, so I'm sure I'll like this one too. And I'll have a series of things that I like and don't like about various elements of it, because each one is unique in its own ways. I guess one thing about the game is that I'm a little disappointed to hear that it's going to take after Bloodborne, because Bloodborne... Like, I love the world design in Bloodborne and how it's like a Dark Souls game that's properly realized in the modern day and stuff like that. But ultimately... I'm going on for too long about a topic again, aren't I? I should just stop saying I'm going to lightning round anything, because apparently I'm just going to talk about every topic forever. But yeah, in I don't know why I thought I could lightning round questions about Dark Souls games, even if I'm just halfway dismissing them, when that's like the thing I do all the time. I'm bad at that. Alright. But I like Bloodborne for its world building, and I like its world navigation, and I really enjoy exploring every environment in Bloodborne. But I don't like the combat that much in Bloodborne. Like, I like it as a game just taking on its own merits. I think it's a good game, but for a Dark Souls game, I prefer the Dark Souls formula. I like the slower, more cautious gameplay. I like slowly, like, sort of waiting out your enemy and figuring out what his movesets are and figuring out how you're going to want to approach all the different threats that he poses you. Whereas in Bloodborne, you run into an environment and the freaking enemies are just kind of this insane flurry of attacks. Especially all the beast-like enemies with just big things covered in hair, and they're so large that they don't even really fit on your screen properly. And it's like a lot of boss fights were made artificially harder by the fact that I couldn't properly tell what was happening half the time, because I was trying to make out the silhouette of the enemy, and I couldn't tell what their moveset... I couldn't react to their moveset properly because I couldn't properly make sense of what they were doing in any given moment, and that was a bummer to me. And people complain that Dark Souls 2 was a lot of guys in armor, and to be fair, yeah, I'd prefer more creative enemies than just the dudes in armor, but the beast enemies in Bloodborne were always a really big bummer to me, because they're just a weird mess of nonsense. Like, there's enemies like the Dark Beast Parl, or Vicar Amelia, or Bloodstarved Beast and stuff like that look really cool in a screenshot, or like a video where you're not playing the game. But when you have to fight them, and all those weird flaps of skinned flesh, or all of those individually animated pieces of hair and so on, are all going all over your screen, and they're flailing these long, sweeping motions across the screen with all of their attacks as they attack like 5 times per 2 seconds or whatever, or like really, really rapidly. and they're covering a huge area with their claws, and it's like it's too frustrating for me. It's at times just trying to get an idea of what happens in the game. And some people think like there's an element, there's the try-hard part of oh god, there's a lot of enemies down here. There's the try-hard part of the Souls audience that loves that stuff like so much. I think that guy just killed everybody. Whoa, my game just started having trouble loading. Whoa, why is that happening? I think something must have really fucked with things down there. Whoa. Game is not loading. Is there like physics happening down there that's bad? Oh, he didn't even blow up. Whoa, the game's like really chugging all of a sudden. What's the deal with that? Are we good now? Something over there was freaking out, I think. Oh yeah, look, it's all smooth, and then it seems to still be freaking out a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, like there's the element of the try-hard audience that's like, everything that's harder is inherently better. And like they just think I'm an idiot if I complain that an enemy has 10,000 hit points when they probably shouldn't have that. Or when you can't tell what their attacks are, or when they don't telegraph their attacks. It's like, telegraphed attacks are for noobs. Like, yeah, just show you in advance what the enemy's gonna do so you can dodge it. It's like, yeah, it's dumb. You get good, scrub, is basically a slight exaggeration of real comments I get. Basically, it's like, no, telegraphed attacks are great. Because that's where skill comes. That's like where the skill of like learning the fight comes in handy. Like you learn what the fight is and how it works and so on, and then you get to fight the enemy and you can like master it. And I think that still happens to an extent in Bloodborne eventually. But there's a lot of encounters that are just feel like you're just bashing your head against the wall sometimes. I'm really blown away by how much trouble I'm having. I guess I haven't had to start a new world in Minecraft for a long time, so I'm used to having armor and used to having a whole base built up, because I tend to just kind of hang out and build stuff in oftentimes a walled off and lit up environment, but I haven't even gotten that far yet. That's kind of amazing how poorly this playthrough is going for me. Not that it's really much of a playthrough to begin with. But in Dark Souls, I just broke that torch. That's a bummer. I wish that new skeletons would stop finding their way up here. I need to just run down a hallway with freaking torches and just spam torches everywhere, and that'll probably deal with it. Just to cut off their spawns. Every time I load, the game's running really poorly. I don't know why that's happening, because it's freaking Minecraft. It should never run poorly. Oh my god, this is like 4 frames per second. What is happening? Minecraft can run... I didn't even know Minecraft could run this poorly. I've never seen this before. Maybe it's a recent patch problem or something. But yeah, I like seeing what enemies' movesets are and dodging around them and learning the fight just right. Like, a game that's really good about that is, so far, most of the encounters in Salt and Sanctuary have been really good about that. Like, there's a few tough encounters at the beginning where you're getting your ass kicked by the fight at first, and you're not sure if you're going to be able to figure it out. But after a few attempts, like, bam, like, he does these attacks and these patterns, and this is kind of how this enemy works, and oh god, I'm getting attacked again. Like, you figure out a lot of the patterns pretty quickly going around in Salt and Sanctuary for how to deal with enemies. I'm now dying of... Wow. This game got weirdly dangerous, or I just have a really nasty spawn, I guess. Now I'm about to have a witch running around my base, aren't I? Oh, I didn't die. I figured I'd run up here in case I die. Oh, there it goes. Yep. Now there's a witch in my base. That's where this is going. But yeah, Salt and Sanctuary is pretty decent about having enemies where, like, here's the 4 attacks they do, and like this guy does a jump attack, he does a ground pound, he does a swipe, and you can sort of get into the pattern of how to react to all those different moves. And the better you get it, the more you play certain Bloodborne fights, the more you would figure out elements like that with certain boss fights. But there was boss fights where I fought them 30 times in some cases and still did not have a system. Like, I think one of them was the big, nasty enemy that's exclusive to the, there's some big, nasty enemy that's exclusive to the Chalice dungeons that's down there that is just the most dickish enemy. You broke my weapon. That's not nice. Hang on. Can I not hit you at all now? What's up with that? Oh, is he just dying of poison now and I can't hurt him with my attacks? I actually don't know how witches work. I don't know if I've ever encountered one before. Like, they existed back when I played, but that was about it. But I just want to be able to tell what my enemy's doing. But really, more so than all the frantic attacks and the lack of telegraphing and so on and so forth is one thing. But more than anything, I just want enemies that fit on the screen. And so I'm really hoping that at least that part of the design goes after Dark Souls rather than Bloodborne, because Bloodborne's enemies were huge in many cases. And it was a really dark game, and your enemies were covered in hair and flaps of skin that would flap around, and basically everything about the game was just constantly obscuring their silhouette. And being able to make out the silhouette of your enemy in a boss fight's a big deal, because that's how you can tell where they are and what attacks they're using and how to react to it. Whereas oftentimes in Bloodborne, you could barely see the enemy on the screen because the whole screen was dark, and Dark Beast Parl is this black enemy in a black room, but sometimes lightningy, which is like the only hint of eyesight you have sometimes. And it was just really frustrating to fight a guy that you're like trying to make out what the hell he's doing half the time, and it's like that shouldn't be the struggle. I think that you should know exactly what your enemies. You should be able to see your enemy perfectly, because then the struggle is that you need to physically be able to react to the things he's doing. And so obscuring things is a bummer. And it's why I'm often kind of little anti-AAA and little anti-advancement of graphics and technology, because the more games get more technically complicated and expensive, oftentimes the more complicated they look visually, to the point where you just can't make out details. Does this guy ever die? Do witches die? I genuinely don't know if I can expect this thing to die. But things start just getting more and more visually chaotic over time, and I like simplicity in my visual design. I'm okay with something looking straightforward. Like, I've never really been one to complain about the graphics in Minecraft, although I don't exactly want my RPGs to look like this game, necessarily. But, simple visuals are good. Too much complexity and nonsense is problematic when you can't make out details. I'm starting to genuinely wonder if this thing ever dies. Or if, like, it has some sort of damage reduction, where, like, I need to use a real weapon or something. I don't know. So I'm hoping that, at the very least, even if Dark Souls 3 is more fast-paced or something, I'm just hoping that it's more visually clear what's happening when you're playing it, and that hopefully the enemies are a little less beast-like and fit on the screen and have, like, defined portraits and so on. Because, like, the Demon of Song is a good example of a easy-to-see fight where everything's clear, but it's a bad example, I guess, for some reasons, because the Demon of Song was so easy. Because Demon of Song is so easy that I practically never die against it at all. And that's not necessarily the direction I want to go in, but something like Dark Lurker. Dark Lurker is a really cool Dark Souls 2 boss. It's one big enemy. He flies around sometimes. He's got wings. He has a cool visual design. He casts spells. He has interesting and innovative attacks where he'll open up a portal. I'm starting to genuinely wonder if witches ever die. I'm about to be like, fuck this witch, just die. No. Getting really sick of this witch. So what's going on here? No, get it back in the hole. Damn it. I'm done with this guy. Jesus Christ. I genuinely don't know if I can kill this thing. I've never hit anything that much in Minecraft and have it not die before. But anyway, Jesus Christ. This series is more chaotic so far than I was expecting it to. I thought I would just carve off a nice little corner and casually build stuff for a while. I could just do that in a creative mode, but I don't like creative mode. I like having to gather resources and, like, change them in a furnace and stuff like that here and there. I like that approach to the game. It's normally not this much of a shit show. I guess this is what happens when you immediately get connected to a giant ravine, is that it's a big dark area where enemies can continually spawn. Maybe I just need to create my own little hole that isn't connected to a giant cave. Dear Lord. But yeah, I'm hoping that the world building of Bloodborne makes it into Dark Souls 3, but I'm hoping that most of the combat still comes from the other Dark Souls games, because I don't want it to be a chaotic button-mashing fest. Like, I don't like the fact that in Bloodborne, you're rewarded for just frantically swinging at people. This is something I learned from watching Aaron Hansen on Game Grumps play Bloodborne, is that oftentimes the game rewards you for just mashing the attack button. I've seen that guy take down encounters that kicked my ass several times because all he does is mash right R1 over and over again and just keep hitting them. And because he's using a fast weapon and the game heals you when you hit enemies, there's entire encounters where the easiest thing to do is just button mash, and that gets you through the encounter. And that's more effective than doing my usual approach where I'm like being really thoughtful and careful and trying to learn the encounter, and I like thinking. I'm not a big reflex person necessarily. I don't want Devil May Cry. I want Dark Souls, and Dark Souls is a very different kind of game. And Bloodborne is fun, and it's a fantastic game. And a lot of people say it's the best game on all of PS4 and one of the best games of all time. And in many ways, I think that's true. I think Bloodborne is a fantastic and special game. But at the same time, I think that it's not exactly the thing I come to Dark Souls for. Because I want my encounters to be more like Dark Lurker. I want my encounters to be more like the Tauros Demon. I want various, like a lot of the iconic enemies from the previous Dark Souls games very much don't function the way the enemies do in Bloodborne. Oh, you son of a bitch, you came after me here? Well, wow. I'm blown away by how I've been playing this for I think I've been playing for over an hour now, and I basically have no progress at building the beginnings of a base. I've been blown away by how many monsters have just been walking into my base and attacking me, and wow. I don't know if the patches have changed the game a lot over time, but I just don't remember this game being this dangerous all the time. I remember it being a lot more casual than this. Oh well. But anyway, I think I've rambled enough at this point and gone in circles a bit. So yeah, the basic concept there is this all started with the idea of whether or not I've exposed myself to anything about Dark Souls and about what I'm looking forward to, and the answer is nothing. I'm just going to experience it fresh, and I'm going to be happy. And I just hope that it takes more design elements from the thing I prefer over the thing I don't prefer, but either way, I'm going to have a good time because I still had a good time with all versions of the Souls games, including Demon's Souls and Bloodborne. It's just I just have my preferences. And, let's see, the same people had really little side topics. They asked me what build I'll probably do. I don't plan out my builds in advance about whether to be a strength character, a dex character, or a healing caster. Honestly, I probably won't be a caster because in every Souls game so far, you have to do a really specific path through the game to get the right spells to function as a caster. So I think casting only really works if you're experienced with the game already. So I won't be doing a blind playthrough as a caster. And so that pretty much narrows it down to strength or dex. And oftentimes I prefer dexterity because I often like having these relatively fast weapons or thrusting weapons, so a lot of times I end up playing with a rapier or a sword or a spear, because those are the weapons I'm often comfortable with in my blind playthrough. How fluent is your German was a side question from the same person. It's not fluent. I took 3 years of German in high school, and then there's a fucking enemy coming up here again. I'm having a terrible spawn time, aren't I? I took 3 years of German, and then I did 1 year of TAing, being a teacher's assistant for the German instructor. I wanted to take 4 years of German, but I had a scheduling conflict, and there was only one scheduled time for the German class in the entire year because it was a small school. So if you couldn't make that work in your schedule, you literally couldn't take German. So I couldn't take German 4. So I took German 1 through 3, and then TA'd for a year. And that guy's still out there being a dick. Alright, I'm just gonna have to accept the fact that I basically have nothing on my character now. Alright, priority for next episode, let's make some iron armor to survive for more than a few minutes. And an iron sword, for the love of God. But yeah, my German's pretty garbage. I'll throw in a word here and there because it's kind of fun to remember one thing or another, but I took it for 3 years, and those 3 years of taking it were like, the last of those years was like 8 years ago now, so it is the distant past. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching like always, and I'll see you next time, where I'll probably still say it's a lightning round, but then also, once again, talk about one question for the entire episode, and so on. I'm good at this. See you guys next time.